Well, greetings, everyone. It's good to be with all of you today. Welcome to the 79th episode. We were going to do 5 of these, I think, weren't we? Anyway, we're glad you're with us today. We hope you have some light bulb moments. We've got some great guests. Remember, money isn't the most important thing in life, but it is reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale. So I'm Tom Kuhn from Qnity. We're here to help you create a simpler path, not only to great financial prosperity, but also doing what you love and having a great quality of life. Using an approach that's simple, visual, and actionable to go from confusion, overwhelm, and complexity to simple, visual, and actionable approach. Remember to prosper, manage your ATM, your attention, time, and money. And it's not lost on us today that you're spending your precious time with us today. For that, we appreciate you. So this is the Financial Roundtable. About 2 months ago, we merged the School Roundtable with the Roundtable for Salons and Spas to really look at one entire ecosystem instead of separating them. And the collaboration between schools and salons and spas, I think, is very important. So we welcome school owners, managers, and leaders, in addition to those of you from the salon and spa community. Last week's guest, that should be last week's, not this week. She's been a guest so many doggone times, though, is Megan Jasper. She was with us 2 weeks ago. We took last week off. Megan, as usual, had some really great light bulb moments for all of us, so we're grateful for that. This week, we get to welcome Jan Arnold of CND. Jan, we'll get to her in a few minutes here, but I love that picture. I actually wore a little red today because I was inspired by this photograph. What a cool photo by Jan. Jan is an industry icon, legend, entrepreneur. The list goes on. So we can't wait to bring Jan into the conversation. We also have with us Tate Holland from Mud Cosmetics, who is not quite as throwing the red at you and all that kind of stuff, but this guy's a power force and just a great human as Jan. So I'm super excited to have both of them as guests and to introduce you to both Jan and Tate, who I was introduced to by joining the Beauty Changes Lives board. So they are fellow board members of it. So we're going to address nails, we're going to address cosmetics, industry trends, all that kind of stuff in a little bit. We will be welcoming them to our Brain Trust, which is a great group of people that have contributed during these roundtables and provided their own light bulb moments. Have you registered for the Phil? And have you registered for the Beauty Changes Lives evening event on May 15th, both working together side by side in Scottsdale? I am told we are close to selling out of the Phil conference, which as a conference organizer, that is music to our ears. On the same note, we want to make sure that we make this opportunity available to you. So if you have not signed up for the Sunday night event, the Beauty Changes Lives fundraiser, or signed up for the Phil conference, you should do so very soon. We are going to be celebrating on Sunday, May 15th, all of these light bulb moments and these members of the Brain Trust, including Jan and Tate, that really helped us, a community, move forward. At the Phil, we'll go through common gaps of the business, gaps that are common for small businesses that with the right training tools, practices, and community, we feel that your businesses can go to another level. So we're going to go through these 5 gaps at the conference. We also have a special workshop on something called the Gap and the Gain. We're actually sending this book to all participants. I think, Michelle, you can put it in the note here, but I think it's going out like next week or the week after. So we're not going to have a keynote. We're going to have an interactive live workshop with stuff that is very meaningful, and we can't wait for you to experience that. We're also going to be going through Impact Award winners. We had an overwhelming response of people that applied for our first annual Impact Awards. I believe the judging is going on as we speak. And then, of course, we have several of our coaches that we've designated as our gap guides during the conference. And each of them are deep into preparation for some amazing workshops. Also, the fill will be an opportunity to fill your bucket by getting away from the business. So if you haven't registered, go for it, because we know you're going to have a lot of light bulb moments. All right. Now, Tom's top of mind. So before we get to Jan and before we get to Tate and introduce them into the conversation, I want to circle back on something we covered 2 weeks ago. And that is a fresh look at compensation in ProBeauty. And so as announced 2 weeks ago, we are doing a study. And what we're going to do is gather information from multiple companies of different sizes, locations, et cetera, all of them in ProBeauty, and to do an objective look at compensation using tax data, verifiable, objective, consistent information, so we can get a fresh look at compensation. And this study is happening. We want to answer one question: how does a career in ProBeauty stand from an earnings standpoint? When I see this number, $27,380 published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I realize that it doesn't tell the full story. So we want to tell a little bit more about the story, and we're not trying to create a research project that's going to take a year, all of that. We're trying to just do an objective study to really get a fresh look at compensation. So it is it's very much driven by information that's at the fingertips of most of you, and that's W-2 data for 2021. How it started, where it's going, getting involved. I'll cover that very quickly. I covered it 2 weeks ago. There's a recording of that session and all our sessions on YouTube. But ultimately, what we've done, this is new, we haven't seen this yet, is we have the template created. We enlisted an amazing research collaborator of ours and had him build an input template so that all you have to do is enter information into this template. This is where the information will be entered directly from W-2s for members of your team. Have to be with you the whole year. There's only a handful of items that need to be entered in this template. And what we'll do is we'll make this part of a greater analysis. So this is the first time this has ever been viewed by anybody except a few of us. And this is ultimately what we will provide each company. And what we'll be able to do is to come up with some aggregate information. By the way, these numbers on the screen tend to be somewhat consistent with what we've seen so far as it relates to earnings from a W-2 standpoint. But the one thing that is hours per, I tell you what's high on this is hours per week. We're not finding average hours of 35 hours per week. This is just an example. We're finding more between 25 and 30. So anyway, this study's underway. I'm sorry, we've got a few people that are still testing the spreadsheet. The findings are coming up with that it's a very, very different story if you use actual W-2 data from employee-based salons. We're not excluding solopreneurs. It's just you can't get tax data from solopreneurs, not necessarily because things are being not filed, but just purely from a taxation standpoint, there's too many different ways a solopreneur can file their taxes. Whereas using W-2s, we can get real data. Okay. And I look forward to building out this chart to see what ProBeauty looks like from a career standpoint compared to other industries. And I think we might find that it's a very, very surprisingly lucrative career when we actually have data, and it stands right up against other very prestigious fields. So anyway, I know Jan and Tate are super passionate about the beauty industry. They haven't really heard me talk about this very much, but I did want to announce this. There's several things that we've addressed as we relate to this study: accuracy, access to information. All of this will go out to those of you that want to be part of the study and how we address all these other areas. And all we're really looking at is a handful of information: W-2s, box 1, 8, and 12. Box 1 includes tips. So whether tips are on there or not, just, you'll be submitting box 1. W2. Box 8 is allocated tips, which is a whole different method of allocating tips to employees. And then also there's going to be another box that we're going to have you fill in that looks at other earnings. So anyway, I don't want to spend any more time around this other than to rally the community. So many of you reached out 2 weeks ago. You want to be part of the study. Expect something in your inbox by the end of this week. So thank you very much for that. And now let's get to our guests. So Jan, I'm going to bring you, let's get you off mic first. And then Tate will bring you into the conversation in just a moment. Jan, how are you today?
I am fabulous. Thank you. I am in Chicago. We just celebrated our Beauty Changes Lives experience. It was a sellout crowd, and now they're predicting tornadoes. But hopefully I'll make it back to San Diego eventually. But such an honor to be with you. And of course, with my buddy Tate. Thank you for having us.
So you're a California girl.
I'm a California girl. Yeah, I live in San Diego. And I have to be honest, when they say rain in San Diego, you get 1 or 2 little tiny drops. And I've discovered when they say rain in Chicago, they mean it.
Tate, and you're a California guy. So we got a couple of California folks. Tate, good morning. How are you today?
Morning. I'm very well. Thank you.
So you're up early because you're still in California.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks to both of you for joining us. And Jan, I know you're operating out of your hotel room and you're multitasking. So I'm so grateful for both of you. So, I love this quote by Shakespeare. I am wealthy in my friends, and you two have become new professional friends. And for that, I'm very grateful. To me, one of the silver linings of the pandemic was all the amazing people I have met in the last 2 years, including both of you. So I'm so grateful that I get to introduce you to our community and vice versa. Okay.
Thank you, Tom. I feel the same way.
Jan, you're a legend. Tate, you're a legend too. Jan is just a little bit more, what is the right word?
I celebrated on March 31st, my 43rd anniversary. Those are the words you were looking for, 43 years.
That is absolutely incredible. And, I would use the word icon, your industry icon. And amazing contributor. I mean, people don't have a fraction of the idea of the stuff that you do behind the scenes, and that goes for Tate also. So, Jan, I have your bio here, and ultimately, when we narrow it down without me reading the bio, I mean, basically, industry leader, co-founder of CND, Creative Nail Design, which is the global leader in professional nail care.
Correct. Yes.
And now you started this business with your father.
Yeah, we started in my dad's garage. It was my family, my father, who was a dentist, also a chemist. Right there in the garage, he had a laboratory. And I remember the day he came to us and he said, I have good news and bad news. The good news is I have just received a patent on the first ever cross-linked polymer resin for nails. The bad news is I don't want to start a business. If you guys want to start a business, I'll give you the formula and no money. Tom, you'll appreciate this. So he said, if you believe in it, if you want it, go to a bank, get a loan, and get out of mom's house, get the bottles out of the house, and get real. And indeed, we learned about the nail business. We went to the banker. I did a nail enhancement on the banker's pinky. And to this day, I'm pretty sure he gave us a meager loan to get the smell out of his office. But all that mattered is we got the loan. My dad continued to innovate for us. And unfortunately, we lost him 2 years later on Father's Day to a massive heart attack. But look at the gift of a patented product, of not spoiling us by giving us everything, making us work hard to build what we've built. And listen, 43 years later, I'm still waving the flag and loving every minute of what I do.
Tate, your energy level is so contagious. I mean, this is what we deal with, right? We deal with Jan's energy level, and we love it, right?
If we just bottle that, get a patent on the energy.
So we have two entrepreneurs. Jan, clearly entrepreneurship, and then Tate, over to you. So you're an entrepreneur, and you have your company, Mud Cosmetics, okay? And why don't you, in your own terms, talk about your journey, because you shared it with me and I thought it was awesome. So how did you get into the cosmetic industry?
Right. So MUD stands for Makeup Designery. And I guess in some respects, I was born into this. My dad was an actor and then a makeup artist for many, many years. So I grew up around entertainment and makeup. Out of high school, I worked a little bit. I was telling you, I worked for Merv Griffin right out of high school, and then went on to college and went to DC, went to school there, did totally different things, worked on the Hill, worked in human rights and different things. And then eventually came back to LA, worked for a company for about 6 years, very similar to what we do, makeup and education. But it was very, it's funny, at the time, it was the largest makeup school with one classroom and about 16 students. So that's where makeup was about 30 years ago. Did that for about 6 years, and then everybody kind of split and started Makeup Designery. We first had a studio in North Hollywood. It was down an alley next to a trash can, one of those stories. And we started very, very, very small little studio, no chairs, no nothing, but got going, and it started caught on pretty quick. There was something we did early that wasn't really done in education, is that we used this thing called the internet, and people weren't using it. They weren't using it, especially in vocational schools. Vocational schools were kind of sold very differently, almost like car salesmen. So we did full disclosure so you could see what you're getting into and what have you. And yeah, it just took off. And MUD really is very much a culture as well. So from that small studio, we grew to a fairly large school in LA, and then a very large school in New York. And then now we have studios throughout Europe and Africa. We have partner schools, largely in the United States, but also internationally. We have about 150 of those. So it's been quite the journey.
So each of you are kind of a big deal. Not just kind of a big deal. You're a big deal. But neither one of you really you're both extremely humble. And you're also very passionate about your domains. And I think you both would agree, Jan, when it comes to nail care and nail artistry, and Tate, when it comes to makeup and makeup artistry, I think you both would probably agree that there may be underserved. Underserved is Tate, you used a word that I think would probably apply to both, and sort of the forgotten childs of beauty. And so let's be clear on our audience today. So our audience today is salons and spas and schools. And what they're looking for is any light bulb moment they might have, and these are primarily employee-based businesses. And so if we look at nail care, Jan, Tate, as we look up makeup and artistry, we'll frame the conversation around these businesses that may have nail care. They may have makeup, but chances are they're missing some big opportunities.
Okay,
Jan, I'm gonna go over to you, and I know you're just go. I'm just talk because when you talk about nail care, it's like we get into it.
It's a $9 billion business. $9 billion business. And when we started 43 years ago, there was a person called a manicurist back in the very back room charging $5 for manicures. And there was very little other service available. Today, nails are one of 5 of the most popular topics in the world on Pinterest. Instagram lights on fire because nail professionals now are full service providers. A client can come in with any natural nail circumstance, and because of amazing research and development, our laboratory is the biggest in the world. We are finding solutions, gels, liquid and powders, nail enhancement solutions that can take any situation that a client might have. Like when I meet people on airplanes and they say, I can't keep polish on my nails. Or guys, they confess all the time to me, my nails are peeling and chipping. What do I do? Well, nail professionals today, I've got you covered. Nail pros today are prescriptive in their recommendations. They have solutions for every single client type. And the most important thing is nail professionals are living their dream today. This is the day. However, Tom, you and I were talking that one of the biggest complaints I hear from owners is, how do I find a great pro? You know, it's hard to find the talent. And one of my biggest recommendations is you have to get to know them, love them, embrace them. When you think of nail professionals, they started in the back corner, so they've got that, you know, syndrome of the redheaded stepchild. They need to be boosted up. They need a partner. If you as an owner say to yourself, I need a great nail professional, I'm here to tell you that a great nail professional needs you, because they grew up doing what they love, doing great artistry, but they don't understand the business, and they need a business partner in the form of a salon owner who will love them, embrace them, and empower them. They need your guidance. So the two are a match made in heaven. And if you are the first to reach out to them through social media, at the shows, show up at the competitions, get to know them, because they need you.
I thought some of your recruitment ideas, when you first started describing them to me, I got a little uncomfortable, because it was like, go to solopreneurs, and, they're already solopreneurs. They might not want to be part of an employee. But the more you talked about, I said it was uncomfortable initially. But when you unpack the idea, like going to Instagram, get to know the nail community, there's 300,000 in the community, and there's competitions and all that. Reach out to them, and even reach out to the nail stars who aren't going to work for you, but they might know people locally that would work for you. So there was a lot of wisdom in that. So let's go into recruitment a little bit on some of your ideas. Then we're going to get over to Tate for a minute.
Yeah. Well, CND, we are going into our 10th year of being the primary sponsor of Nail's Next Top Nail Artist. Mm-hmm. This is a global nail online competition that, as the lead judge and key sponsor, every single week, it's like Project Runway, where you have these nail professionals from all around our country, all around the world. You've never heard of them before. And during the 10-week competition, they show you their artistry. They have to write tutorials. They have to show you how mediagenic they are on video. They have to follow the challenge guidelines. For me, the reason I'm a sponsor is that it is my #1 recruitment tool. I get to know who the next gen is, who their tribe is, who follows them, what they're into. And listen, these young, new, beautiful, talented pros, they are looking for the next path. Every class I teach, I say, please charge what you're worth, because you're worth a lot as a nail pro. Yet pros come to me all the time and say, Jan, how do I know what I'm worth? Well, if your clients are coming back and your services offer the client a 3+ week wear, if you have a following on Instagram, you're worth a lot. But again, as a salon owner, you have to show interest, you have to show love, and you have to be connected. So competitions, Instagram. I found the nail pro that I'm using now on Instagram. This boy is the most talented guy I've ever seen in my whole life. But he doesn't charge enough. Every time I have my appointment, I'm like, Tom, 1.5 hours, brilliant work. It lasts 3.5 weeks. You need to charge more. I always pay him twice what he asked for.
What does he ask for, and what do you pay him?
He asked for $95 for very intricate nail art. It's very intricate. My nails don't lift, they never break, they never change, and I pay him at least $150. Why? Because the guy is brilliant and I don't want him to leave my life. Like, I've got to keep him around.
All right, so we're going to come back to you in a minute here, and we're going to talk about tiny canvases. I love tiny. I love that terminology. All right, Tate, the makeup industry. It's a little bit different from nail. It's sort of like makeup was sort of very high profile, like movie type makeup. So like, where nails sort of were in the back room, makeup originally was left for like movie stars and stuff, and how it's evolved. So talk to us a little bit about makeup and the opportunity and what's going on in the world of makeup today.
Sure. I mean, first of all, I think it's interesting you have us both on today. There are some commonalities here. I think that, the way Jan describes nail care in the salon, I would like to hear that about makeup, 20 years from now. So I think there are some commonalities, and you're quite correct. The traditions, though, are different. So when we think of cosmetology, we think of the hair industry, you think of a highly regulated industry, one where there's mandated education and exams and licensure. Makeup, as you say, it kind of comes from a different realm, more of the entertainment side of things. But the weird part is, or where they cross, is that in that regulated environment, makeup is included, but makeup is not really taught or barely taught. So you have this interesting situation where for somebody to do makeup in a salon, they need to be licensed. However, they've probably not received appropriate education in order to do the makeup in the salon. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy. What I've been on a mission now for the last, like I said, I've been doing this about 30 years, but really coming into this side of it for the last 8 years or so, and on a mission to bring that education to the schools, and to meet that need. There's a need, there's a desire by the students, huge desire by the students. And then, when they get out there, then that's an opportunity for them to have more things that they can do. So if, especially when we think of estheticians and that sort of thing. So we see it growing, but like I said, we're at the early days of the journey, I feel.
And the profit opportunity is enormous when it comes to makeup as a category in a small business. And I thought it was interesting when you were telling me about, students really, they get super excited about makeup and they want to do makeup, and they come into a salon and maybe the outlet's not there. Right.
So, that opportunity, within a salon environment, it's really based on the ownership, and then obviously on the practitioner, on the beautician or the makeup artist, and their knowledge and their desire to want to do makeup. And you really need both. It's not there's nothing magic about makeup. You put a display into a salon, nothing's really going to happen. I'm kind of anti-display anyway, but I'm very much pro knowledge. And if you think of where we are today, and I mentioned the internet earlier, there's been a lot of good. This meeting is great. We're able to do this. But Jan can't get her nails done online. So Jan has to go someplace to get those nails done, right? So makeup is, again, kind of a weird one. And nails. I mean, we can go to a store and buy makeup all day long, but do we get the knowledge? And as we've gone more into this digital world, we've gotten away from knowledge. Used to be you could go to, for a man, you go to Macy's and you get a suit and you'd be greeted by somebody who knew all about suits. He knew your size when you walked in the door. And that experience is largely gone now. But I feel that in the salon environment, here you have a place where people have to come. They have to come to get services. And within that service, they also can get knowledge. They can get knowledge about their hair. They can get knowledge about their nails. And logically, sure, they should be able to get knowledge about makeup as well while they're there. And that opportunity is an opportunity for the salon and the practitioner to provide an additional service and to sell a product.
Yeah, so the opportunity to raise average ticket through makeup and or nails is enormous, no question. And Tate, you talked about doing like makeup parties and doing events around makeup and, wine, tutorial, etc. Probably the same thing would apply to nails too, right, Jan? I mean, you could do actual nail parties, So,
Well, totally. And, I think we are lucky in the nail business. We've got 20 opportunities to thrill our consumer between your fingers and your toes. So if a client is coming in for a basic mani, you throw a shellac color on those nails, you do it right, you get the education so that it's going to last 3+ weeks. The client comes back, you remove it flawlessly. We actually have this thing called butterfly removal. Within 10 minutes, the coating literally flies off the nail. And if they've never worn a gel polish, if they've never worn a dynamic color, maybe they got stuck in the pinks and the reds, I see this transformation occur with our consumers, that you can all of a sudden get them to not only experiment with all of the various colors and color ranges, but with art and with technique, with a little chrome, with a little accent. And, from there, again, we've got these 20 opportunities to delight and thrill. So I think the Nail Pro is your number one best-selling tool in the salon, because you can do a little sample pinky nail. Think about nail pros. They sit 18 inches across the table from their client, and they're looking into the client's eyes. They have direct eye contact and constant power of touch. So I find that this is the best way to persuade, to communicate. We persuade with passion. And a nail pro, because they've got that level of intimacy with the client, can sell anything in the salon. And so a smart salon owner puts them up front, makes sure they understand what else is going on, what we're selling in terms of retail, and you use them as a power tool, as a power sales tool in the salon.
Tate, I'm sure what she just described as nails is also makeup. You've got this intimate eye-to-eye relationship for a period of time. So, speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Jan was talking about earlier, when we think about the popularity of nails and obviously makeup in social media, it's huge.
Yeah.
And the industry is massive, billions and millions of dollars, And so it's logical that you would have that at a salon. It's logical that you would put that right up front, right in the window, that you've got the services that, for the special occasion. And we see it in different markets. It's interesting. It's been slow to come on board here in the United States. We see more of it in the Middle East, even in Africa, special occasion makeup. But you're seeing some of it, some of the blowout lounges and stuff like that. You see some makeup getting incorporated there. Obviously, we think of really special occasions like, bridal parties and that sort of thing, where they'll come in for makeup. But just imagine the notion of being able to go someplace because you have an issue that you want to take care of. Every morning you get up and you like to wear makeup, and you've got this, in your mind, this thing you want to cover. You've got a blemish or the way that you like to look. Where do you go to find out how to do that?
Yeah.
It is a little different in the nails, in the sense that, to Jan's point, the nails stay where they are, and a good nail artist is going to do a great job, and you're not going to see them for a few weeks. The makeup washes off.
Remember, so much has happened with the pandemic. It's been an accelerator for people to make career and directional type decisions. And it seemed to me, if I've got a team of a bunch of stylists and someone's maybe feeling a little burned out with hair, I don't know, it just seems to me that this could be a huge opportunity to put someone in a position where they're doing nails and or makeup. I want to get to some tiny canvases in a minute, but is that I've been a salon owner. I've been in the space for a long time, but I never really thought, could someone do both? Could somebody do makeup and nails and just, take that category of the business
It's funny, when we talked yesterday on some of the stuff, I went and just, reached out to a couple of folks and wanted a couple of examples of practitioners and how they're doing this. And one of the examples I got was from Las Vegas, a young woman that has her own small salon. And I wanted to see what she charged for makeup services. And she does it all. You go there, you get a haircut, you get a color, nails. She's passionate about nails. Huge fan of yours, Jan. And she does makeup services. So she's on the ready, whatever you need. And again, it's that expertise, think of, again, come back to hair care. My wife, what matters to her when she picks a stylist? It's not just the stylist's ability to cut the hair that day. It's for the hair to look good the next day. And for her to be given knowledge and products that help her maintain that great look that she got the day that she went in, So all these things, it's the exact same principles,
Yeah.
It's all about our ego and our persona and how we look, right?
And
who can help us get to where we want to be.
what comes to mind here also is these are high frequency of visits, nails and makeup, high frequencies of visits. And I just envision, I know several of you out there today, and you've got these businesses, you got a lot on your plate. And, ultimately we know that a retained client is hugely valuable. We also know that the more services that an individual has in the existing business, the more likely they are to stay with your business. So if they're doing hair, but now doing hair, nails, and makeup, it's that much more likely they'll be a long-term client.
And Tom, I have a really important perspective on that, which is I'll go to my hair salon and I'll see someone like have a dramatic color change, maybe a dramatic cut change, especially if they have a dramatic color change. It changes their entire persona. Mm-hmm. It changes how they wear their makeup, how they present their nails. It's really interesting. For me, I love like super short hair. So this is a masculine element that then justifies my long nails. Now, if I had long dark hair and dramatic eyelashes, could I still wear these nails? Probably not. I think I would go to a more classic, maybe a little more masculine to offset. So I think this whole notion of the total picture of beauty and how we advise our clients, they go through a dramatic hair color or a haircut change. How do we advise them? It's so important. We can't just separate their beauty elements and send them out the door. Mm-hmm. We've got to advise them so they have the total picture. Really frustrates me when I see someone, go from blonde to red hair, and yet they don't have the advice of how to change the makeup or how to treat not only nail color, nail length, nail art. There's so much to think about.
All right, I want to show some tiny canvases. And you brought that term up yesterday. I'm like, I love that term, tiny canvas. And so Tate, bear with us for a second. We're going to do a little tour of nails here. And Jan, this is actually nail art on men. All right. So I'm gonna pull this up here, and I think this is a hugely interesting. By the way, Michelle, who is, you see her profile here, she's our COO. Her mom was a nail artist, so that's how she entered ProBeauty. I think we might have told you that before, but anyway.
Yes, I love it. A little background on these shots, if I may share. The first slide is an article in the New York Times about men and how they're adopting nail artistry.
Hold on a second. Hold on, I've got to reshare my screen. Keep going, excuse me.
Yeah. No, we were up in LA at a photo shoot, and we had hired a bunch of female models. I had one guy model, gorgeous, gorgeous hands. And all of a sudden I was looking around the studio and there were all these cute production guys. And I'm like, can I borrow you? I would love to paint your nails and every single guy, this actually was, okay, this young man It was his third day at the production studio. I thought he was so beautiful. And I had the winner of Nails Next Top Nail Artist as a featured artist on set. And I said, do you mind if we paint your nails? And he goes, no, that'd be cool. You know, young, cool guy. And she painted this eyeball print, like literally within 30 minutes. He had his nails done. I put him under the camera and look at this shot. Like, and I asked him, you know, is this something you would actually wear? Turns out that he DJs at night. He thought these nails were the coolest thing. He was begging Emily Nash to move from Indiana to LA so he could continue to get his nails done. But, you know, this term tiny canvases, they are so tiny, so minute. Ah, look at this guy. He is a production assistant. He works at Netflix for his day job, works with us whenever we can get him. We did his nails. Winnie Wong, very famous nail pro, did his nails. And all of these guys have continued to wear their nail art. This is the same guy, by the way. Go back one, Tom. The guy with, same guy. I've never seen his hair down. We pulled his hair down and turned him into a rocker. And so for me, and then the next slide, this super little shy conservative photography assistant. He had the most amazing green eyes. So we did this kind of camo print on his tiny canvases, and he had little nails. This is my assistant, Juan. This is Juan Gutierrez. Okay. This is Juan. And we did a snake, a negative space snake across his nails. But, you know, when we think of nail artistry and self-expression, guys are in on the game now. And so, you know, everyone wants to have fun. We all, like, even on Zoom calls, virtual events, we express with our hands. And I think that's the new way that we're going to develop our industry, is to get the guys. I mean, guys' clothing today is more exciting than girls' clothing. You know, it's happening.
So Tate, we didn't show up with any makeup related art and a face as a canvas. And I'm sure that you've got some amazing stories of, you know, how makeup can really transform someone in a very positive way, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's funny, you know, I mentioned earlier the board Beauty Changes Lives, and I love the name of the organization because that's been my life experience. You know, seeing people transform, even my dad, you know, guy that came from Southwest Georgia, born in the 1920s. He's still around, by the way. Not exactly the place that you would imagine someone coming out and being, you know, he was a model and an actor and then a makeup artist. But we see it both ways, right? We see it with the makeup artist or with the practitioner, and then we see it with the person who receives the application. And it, you know, to Jan's point, it is transformative, you know, and you do it in a healthy way, right? You do it in a fun way, you know. I mean, for me, everybody's beautiful, right? But we can have fun, you know, and you know, again, for me, I'm very in touch with students, and I always love how Jan is so granular, how she's so in touch, you know, with the artist and with the people working at her local salons and what have you, because at the end of the day, that's who we are. And I think when you stay in touch like that, you get to create a great company and a great product because you're right there with the folks, you know, and right there with their passion. And so for me, it's always been very much about, you know, like I say, the practitioner, but that going to that person goes to your point, which is if I have a salon and I can make this a possibility, and it's not like an expensive thing either. That's the other thing that's funny. You've just got to find the right people, right? So you've just got to find the person who has the training and who has the passion, be it for nails or makeup, or maybe you get somebody who does both, you know, and they're transformed. They're doing what they love to do. You know, it always amazes me when you talk to students, you know, and where they're coming from. And then for the person that sits there and, you know, sees what they can be.
You both are so articulate and so well spoken about your crafts and your passion, and it's super exciting. And I'm sure that we have several people dialing in today that are going to take a fresh look at their nail practice and their makeup practice. And, Tate, when you and I were having our prep conversation, it's like, Tate, we've done almost 80 of these roundtables and we have not talked about makeup once.
Wow.
And Jan, we've talked about nails only once before. We had Tam on, Tam very well, and he's awesome. So how great for both of you to be spokespersons for your respective crafts that fit within a greater craft. That's a craft that's built upon touch and ProBeauty, To me, if I am advising or one of our coaches are advising a client, they're really looking at revenue and growth and, creating a greater point of difference with their staff and clients, I'm going to be looking very differently at makeup and nail care. So now let's see if we have any questions out there. And I want to make sure that there's none of this is ever rehearsed, guys. We know it's not rehearsed. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything either one of you said, because you really had me taking such notes. I took so many notes when I talked to both of you. I think we've covered a lot of the things that we discussed. And Tate, you're very passionate, as you are, Neil, about schools and how students are really looking for this kind of training, right? So a lot of your work is actually with the schools.
We do a ton of work with schools and education, curriculum, teacher development, and all that. Again, if we think of the tradition of cosmetology, as an umbrella, think of that regulated environment from which it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the schools, pretty much do what's asked of them,
Mm-hmm.
sort of what the regulators tell them they have to do, what the regulation and law says they have to do. They're not going to change it up too much unless there's a huge demand. They don't have an incentive to change it. So for the schools to want to bring in makeup, it's because of demand. It's because the student sitting there wants to learn about it, because really it's barely touched on. If you look at any, most of the states, it's barely even mentioned in the regulations. So it's really the driving force is the student. So now let's move that forward. That same driving force is now the employee. And they want to practice their craft, right? So they need an environment. So logically, if it's popular for them to want to get into this and to be educated in makeup and then go practice makeup, then the logic goes further that there's somebody who wants to have makeup applied to them.
Tate, I also love your entrepreneurial journey. And I'm going to ask both of you a question. And have either one of you ever struggled with cash flow in your journeys as an entrepreneur?
Of course.
Of course. Of course.
Okay. I like to ask that question because it seems so self-evident to an entrepreneur. It seems like every entrepreneur I've ever met has had at some point they had to make this work financially. Mm-hmm. And both of you have built, it might be fair to say, empires. But you also started very humbly. And I think, Tate, you had a baby, you left your job, you had a mortgage, your wife went back to work. I mean, this was not easy for you to get this business going, right?
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, super scary. We shared the baby back and forth, So my wife went back to waiting tables. And she was primarily working at night, but when she was working during the day, then I would take the baby. And the baby now is 25 and is a makeup artist and works in the company, but also has her own independent career as a makeup artist. But what drives it is it's the passion. It's the belief in what you're doing. And for me, it was the sense of truly building community. I really wanted a place that people like my dad, the people that I'd grown up with had a home. And that was super, super important to me. I remember speaking to a guy who was he was a friend of mine. He was a business consulting kind of guy and very cool dude. And I remember talking to him, he goes, so tell me what you want to do. What's the business plan? And I remember I described a person. I didn't get out spreadsheets or anything like that. Probably wasn't too good with them at the time, but I described a person and it was a real person. And I said, I want this person to have a home. And it's funny, it hasn't changed. I've gone to, as far away as Johannesburg and walked into a mud studio unannounced and amazed that the culture is the same. I have no idea. To be honest with you, if you asked me how we did, I said, I couldn't tell you. Just somehow getting like-minded people, I guess, people who ultimately care about other people. And through that caring of other people, sure, there's a business and there's a journey, but it's the people that come first.
Bottle that up. Jan, I didn't realize that your dad basically said, here, this is the idea, this is the patent, go for it, but you're on your own. And so you blazed new trails too.
Oh yeah, go get some money, go get a loan and go work your butt off, which of course we all know as entrepreneurs, it's blood, sweat, and tears. What happened though is we grew, we invested, we had tons of ideas, and we finally said, we only know what we know. We're entrepreneurs, we're serving the needs of our professional, but we don't really know the business side. So one of the best things we ever did is we took on an outside board of directors for our small business. We had a marketing guy, an international development guy, we had a finance guy, and we had this outside board for about 5 years. And every year they would come in and they would say, okay, kids, we're gonna work on profits, because we were so focused on growth, but we weren't protecting our profits. Okay, let's do fewer, bigger, better initiatives, but do fewer of them because they cost money to develop. Then they came in and they taught us this word EBITDA, a different way of looking at our bottom line. Okay, we're learning the acronyms. Then I'll never forget the day, Tom, to your point, where they came in and said, now we're going to work on cash. We're going to pay down debt and we're going to work on cash. And it took us 5 years to be profitable, to be debt-free, and to get cash in the bank. And that's when they came to us and said, it's a good time to sell. And we said, no, we don't want to sell. We don't want to sell. And long story short, we did sell to Revlon, and they needed our R&D capability. It was during the heyday of the development of shellac. And the reason we sold, to diversify our assets for mom and some of the family members, but we wanted a parent company to help us grow internationally. We wanted to leverage our R&D capability to go to that next level. We needed the corporate discipline, but talk about the American dream where, I remember my dad saying, Jan, you can do anything. Take this idea to the moon. And I feel like we've been to the moon and beyond. And we're going to keep going. I mean, the fact it's still fun, and I work for a publicly held corporation, I swear to you, I'm still having fun because I'm learning. And to Tate's point, I spend my every day with the people I love, the nail professionals.
Well, guys, I forgot to even look at the clock here, and I've got to welcome certain people in a moment here. I feel like I could talk to you, both of you, all day. And Jan, to your point about the financial model, as we say, sales is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king, right? And sounds like they evolved you through that. All right, so I want to officially award you the $1 million light bulb. Okay, this officially enters you into our brain trust. I actually have my version of this in a bit of a stand, but you get it like this. It'll be mailed to you. If we could all give these two pros a virtual round of applause and give them a shout out in the chat, let them feel a little bit of love in there. And Tate, I know you are trying to get to the Phil and Sunday night events, so we will probably see you in Scottsdale.
I'm planning to be there.
And Jan, I know you maybe had some conflicts. Hopefully you're going to make it.
We're working on it. My assistant, 1 in a million, is going to make it happen for me. So we're working on it.
So
Thank you for hosting us. I
Yeah.
love what you do. To Tom and Aaron, Michelle, you guys, the industry so needs you. So thank you for everything you do. And my buddy Tate, little hug this way.
All right, so let's stick around a few more minutes. Let's see who's on the call today. I think we've had a lot of people that probably needed to go on to what's next for them, but we've got Amanda and Anna and Andre and Andrew and Ann and Ashley and Bijan, Christine and Connie and Dawn. Erin is on here today. I think she's been in the chat, and Heather and Holly and Jan and Jared and JP, Karen, Carrie, Kevin, Linda, Melissa, Philip, Sam, Sonia, Terry, Vanessa, and I think there's a few people I probably missed, but we certainly celebrate all of you for joining us today. Let me see if there's anything else that I need to do with my job other than get my nails done and be ready for my next makeup session, which is coming up because we're filming soon and we always hire a makeup artist. So that's coming up. Compensation study, we did talk about that. I know several of you expressed an interest. If you are interested in being part of this study, it's going to go fast. It's a pretty tight turnaround. And we're ready to launch this. Send a message to Michelle if you want to be part of this. Remember, we've got this special Beauty Changes Lives event on May 15th. Sounds like we'll be seeing at least one of the two of these good friends and pros with us that night. If you haven't registered, we are legit getting very close to being sold out. If you're not working with a coach, we love coaches. We love coaching. We know how important it is. So we have complimentary discovery sessions, and a quick shout out to our sponsors. Pivot Point came in as a sponsor on the school roundtable. They continue as a sponsor. They are our partners in our money course for students that we launched last September. If you want to become a money school and you are in the school business, you can book a demo at qnityforschools.com. Lightheart Sanders, they're CPAs. They're also a sponsor of this. Jarrett, Kevin, Sharon, we've gotten to know these people. These guys are pros. They're awesome. We love the collaboration with them. Closing thoughts. I am wealthy in my friends, and both of you are great friends. How great to share you with our community today. So we will see both of you very soon. We'll see all of you next week. I'm pretty sure we're on next week. We're on next week. Yes, I don't know. I'm not sure if, yes, we are next on. I don't know who our guest is, but it'll be an amazing guest. Thanks to all of you. Have a great rest of the week, and we appreciate you spending your attention and time with us today. Take care.